Hi Aquarius, welcome to How Love Tarot. This is your singles read for June 2021. Now this reading is not for everybody and this is a very deep reading. This is not your typical reading where I'm going to tell you that your ex is going to contact you or you're going to meet your soulmate or you're going to meet the love of your life and your twin flame this month. This is not that type of reading. This is a reading to take a look at the situations that are surrounding you that are going on within you that are inhibiting your love life. So these things are in your control. Now, whenever there is a reading that is solely about you and the changes that you need to make in order for you to bring in the things that you want, it is always a difficult reading. I recommend that if you have a visceral response to the reading that you keep the reading and you look at it again. Try and look at it all the way through and try and just sleep on it and watch it the next day. I also recommend that you watch it a couple of times throughout the month and especially at the end of the month. Especially if it brings up a lot of emotions and you're having a negative response to it. Again, this reading is meant to help you and it's meant to show you the blockages that are hindering your love life currently. And this is for those of you that want love, right? So let's take a look at what's going on in the current position for you. So these cards are oracle cards and I use the tarot at the end. And if you want to know what decks I'm using, they're in the first couple of lines of the description, in the description below. So the first position right here represents the issues that are surrounding you. So here we have against the grain and we have restore and replenish. So in order for me to talk about this card especially, I have to kind of reveal who I am because I'm going to be talking about things that are very psychological. I am a clinical psychologist. I'm a doctor. So when I talk about these things, I'm not talking to you as a pop psychologist, armchair psychologist, somebody that looks at videos on YouTube and reads self-help books and regurgitates a lot of stuff that is held out of context. When I bring in this information, I am telling you from my 30 years of experience. This card is a very important card because if you look at it, the person is in a fetal position. And the card says restore and replenish. So what has happened to you, Aquarius, is that a traumatic event has happened in your life. And it shows here that you're in the fetal position. Now in psychology, we never want anybody in a fetal position, whether that be a child, adolescent, young adult, old adult, it doesn't matter. It shows that this person that is in the fetal position, sometimes literally, I have worked in many psychiatric hospitals and psychiatric facilities where, and even in my own clinical practice, where people are in a fetal position. And what it represents is that you've regressed, right? You're so hurt from what has happened in your life that there is a pulling in, right? Because when you pull in all your four limbs, what you're doing is self-protecting. Not only are you self-protecting the physical body, but you're protecting the mind and the spirit as well. So it's a full regression when you can actually physically see it in somebody. Now, some of you may be actually exhibiting this in the way that you sleep. You may be now starting to sleep in a fetal position, or you may be on the sofa curled up in a fetal position. Most people do it unconsciously. Some people even start sucking their thumb. And when you get that way, you need help, right? You can't just do this by talking to your friends and family. Usually your friends and family don't even know that you're at that level. So that's what's surrounding you right now. Is you may be getting triggered, you're going through a lot, you've experienced an event that is traumatic, and psychologically and in your physical world, it has you in a fetal position. Are you going through the motions? Are you going about your daily life? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Yes, you are. But this is a very, very painful position because this is what is haunting you. It haunts you in the day, it haunts you in the night. So for those of you that are busy and keeping your mind busy, what you might find is a lot of extra energy and adrenaline and cortisol, that stress hormone, and you may be kind of manically getting things done, and the brain is doing that to protect you from whatever event that is, right? So the mind serves to protect. So you may not be processing your trauma, you may just be suppressing it, but it is affecting you. That's what it's showing. Now, against the grain is basically going against this hurt and pain, and basically getting up in the morning and doing what you're supposed to be doing. And going against the grain is going against the way that you feel in this context with these cards. And so people obviously may know what you have been through, some people. And so yes, on an intellectual level, they get it. They get that you must be hurting. And there is sympathy there, and there is empathy there. But it's to the point that it's like, you know what? Stop pitying me. I can't, you know, if I can't take the pity, right? You're not throwing a pity party for yourself, but whatever you've gone through, for those Aquariuses that can resonate with a traumatic event in their life, you're getting a lot of pity. Now, a part of what needs to happen in order for you to come out of this is those people that are closest around you, when they say to you, how are you doing, what's going on, you kind of do need to open up to them, especially if you're not going to a therapist. And they still may not know what to do for you, but it's not about what they can do for you, it's about you talking about it, right? So a secret has power over you, and going against the grain and hiding what you're really feeling is kind of like holding in a secret. And so it begins to take power over you, and it begins to snowball you, and it begins to paralyze you. And it gets to the point that one day you wake up and you can't get out of bed. One day you get up and you can't leave your house, and you've got a true severe mood disorder at that point that has snowballed in front of your eyes without you realizing it. So even though it is very difficult for you to talk about how you feel, again, it's not about the other people watching out for you or even knowing how to help you, but it is about you diluting the nature of this fetal position that you're in. So that's what's surrounding you currently, is that you're really holding in a lot. In the next position, we have inner trust. We have the perfection of your life. We have in the world, not of the world. Okay, so in this position, what we're looking at is the behavior patterns that are influencing your life right now. And what's currently influencing your life is whatever event that took place really broke your reality. It broke the way that you look at life. It broke, it shifted your consciousness, is what we call it. And when you shift your consciousness, it never shifts back. There is the way the world was prior to that moment, and then there's the way that it is after, and it never ever goes back. If I can give you an extreme example, it would be the example of, now, none of you probably are young enough to remember this, I wasn't even born, but I'm sure you can imagine it, which is, you know, life is going on, and everything is fine, and then suddenly World War II breaks out, right? And we have Hitler that is doing a lot of damage across Europe. And then we have this world war, right? The Second World War. And so the war, excuse me, Aquarius, the war ends, but life never goes back to what it was. The innocence is lost. The reality sets in, and you can never go back to the happy place. You can never go back to what it was like before war. You can never go back to you can't unsee something. You can't unfeel something. You can't undestroy something. So where you're sitting in this second position, your behavioral patterns is this, the behavior. We've got inner trust. So part of what's happening is you may not be trusting your decisions, right? Because it's the behavior. So you may be doing behaviors to self-protect. You may be doing behaviors, actually you're usually doing behaviors to the extremes. So you may be numbing your pain. So for some of you, you may be drinking or popping pills or whatever illegal substances there are. You may be going to the extreme of working out, of kind of like burying yourself in something, a project. Like if you're, I'm just again going to throw out a random example. Let's say you've never been a gardener and suddenly it's your newfound hobby. Well, you've become the best gardener in the bloody town, right? Whatever you're doing can be done in extremes. So usually that's what's happening in a behavior pattern when inner trust is gone and you're trying to figure out your physical world and what that means for you. And here we have the perfection of your life. And so the way that you see your life has changed so dramatically that the way you act in your life is also out of context and feels alien to you. So you're going through the motions, you're not trusting what is around you, and there's a lot of conflict going on. And here we have you're in the world, not of the world. So this shows how dissociated you are from the world that you're living in. And what the word clinically dissociated means, dissociation, what it means is, have you ever been in a class? I mean, I have. I mean, this is probably the story of my life. But have you ever been in a classroom and you're listening to a teacher and you just zone out and you're there, your body is there, it looks like you're listening, but when the teacher is looking at you, you look zoned out, right? You've seen other people do this next to you. You've done it yourself. That is actually dissociation. We all do it. We're all capable of it. But whenever we have a trauma, we do it extensively. So being in the world, not of the world, shows that you're very, very detached and dissociated psychologically from the world, right? So again, that's the mind protecting itself. So let me address a question, which is, what does this have to do with you finding love, right? For those of you that want love and are wondering, can love ever come back into your life? Not in this state, not in the current state that you're in. Now, like I said, I'm a clinical psychologist and I've worked in a lot of psychiatric hospitals. And if I've had one patient, I've had 10 patients that have proven me wrong with that statement. So I have seen people go through the most devastating moments of their life. And in that context, they find love. I've seen it happen over and over and over again in a lot of places when I'm doing therapy, where the need is so strong within you that you do attract love. Now, what is it that you're attracting is the question. Like, for example, in the 12-step recovery program, when I'm working in the hospital, one of the things that we teach in the substance abuse program, or substance misuse if you're in the UK, is that you do not get in a relationship, a love relationship, for at least a year after you become fully sober and fully work your program. The reason being is that you have to normalize everything within you. Your physiology has to normalize. It's the same with trauma. Your physiology, your biological basis of behavior has to stabilize. Your emotions have to stabilize. Who you are has to stabilize. Now, can you still find love? Yes. Like I said, patients have proven me wrong over and over and over again, where they find people to love. But again, it's what are you attracting in at that point? Are you attracting in somebody that needs to rescue somebody else? I don't know what your soul contract is. That may be the nature of what needs to happen. On a psychological level, we don't like that to happen for people, only because the person coming in may not be the right person. So what means is they're coming in to rescue you because that's a pattern in their life. But then once you heal within that relationship, what happens to the relationship? You don't need them anymore. So we don't encourage that, because what it does is it just hurts another person. But does love come in? Can love come in? Yes. If you're aware of what is going on within your behavior, and you are doing the work, you're seeing a therapist, you're going through meditation, you're working on your physical body, you're balancing out your life, you're moving towards stability. You don't have stability yet. It's not wrong for you to meet somebody as long as you are fully aware of where you are in your life and what it is that you need. And that's the problem that I would say 95% of people don't know. They don't know where they are. They don't know that they're sitting in a fetal position. They don't know that they're walking around dissociated until they get into a car accident, and crash their car. And the first thing they say when they get out is, I was daydreaming, right? And I've been involved in many accidents where I'm somebody that's just standing by, and I'm the one that has to go to the car and make sure everybody's okay. And the first thing the driver says to me is, I remember the last one, the lady came out of her car. I asked if she was okay, and she was crying, and she says, I don't know what was happening. I was daydreaming. I was thinking about my husband. He died a week ago. Okay. And so it happens a lot. It's something that you have to be aware of. It's normal. But if you're going to invite love into your life, it's very, very important that you're aware of the hurt and the pain that you're in. And you're very aware of what it is that you need from that other person. And you're really trusting your gut, all right? Your gut instinct still works. Your instincts still work in trauma. If anything, they work more proficiently when you are traumatized, because, your whole system is warning you against pain. And so your instincts work great, right? So if you're numbing, like through substances, that will not happen. What will happen is you will not use your instincts, but what you will do is gravitate with your mind to somebody that wants to rescue you. So that's why it's really kind of important that you don't numb through substances, and you do use your instincts, because that's a barometer to tell you where you are, to feel that pain, to allow yourself to go through the pain, and then to, you meet somebody. And, again, I've done this for 30 years, and I do tell people in traumatic situations, because they're working with me, they're taking care of their bodies, they're working out, and we do get to a certain point in therapy, I would say about 8 to 10 sessions, right? Not that long, where I'm saying to them, okay, it's kind of like getting into a head-on collision. You have to get back in the driver's seat, otherwise you never will, because the anticipation builds to the point that you just cannot do it. And so I do actually encourage people to date. Now, whether they get into a relationship or not, again, it's something that I help people walk their way through and help them to understand what their needs are, what their boundaries are, what it feels like to be in a relationship, and what is it they have to give? What do you have to offer if you're sitting in a fetal position, right? What is it that you have to offer, right? And so you have to be clear with the other person about your experience. You have to be clear, and again, who you meet and why they want you and why you want to date. You can't just reveal that on the first date, but you can, after a few dates, and you can say, let's say it was a head-on collision and somebody died in that head-on collision and you were the driver, and you happen to meet somebody, they want to date you, they're interested in you. you can tell them after a couple of dates and there's a lot of attraction there, you really like them, they really like you. You can tell them, listen, I need to tell you something. I'm not in a good place and I'm not ready for games. I'm not ready for you to play with my heart, so if you want to get laid, I'm not that person, but I need commitment. It's okay for you to lay down your boundaries immediately. And people are very responsive too when you've been through a traumatic event. They will not play with you. And so they will either step away from that situation because they know it's too much for them to handle, or they will say, I get it, I understand. And their compassionate and empathetic side comes out. But the key to all of this is you do not sleep with them, okay? And so that is very important. If you're looking for love and you want to date and you can identify that you have come out of a traumatic experience, but you are still dealing with the aftermath, the ricochet effect of it. In this third position, free from judgment, free to love is exactly what I'm talking about, right? And so you have to know you have to know where you are in that process. And again, I do encourage you to go to therapy, find a clinical psychologist, a doctor in your area that is trained in trauma that can help you through that process. And it can be very healing to have the love of somebody else, to have somebody to take care of you, to have somebody to listen to you, or to just make you laugh and take you out of the space that you're in. Somebody that's very different from you and wants to get to know you, but you kind of check your baggage at the door. Every situation is different and everybody that you meet is going to be different. Some want to rescue you and want to hear everything, and others just want to make you laugh and want to hang out with you and want to have a superficial kind of connection with you. And that may be what you need, because this says freedom from judgment, freedom to love, right? So it's almost like you can leave behind the trauma for a moment as you're with that person. And but again, it's all about having the awareness of where you are in that process, okay, for it to be successful. A bunch of cards came out for you in the next position. We have trust yourself. We have releasing allegiances. We have what do you feel? We have the world wants to be written. Okay, so in this fourth position, what we're looking at is, let me just turn these cards so they're not reflecting as much. So what we have in the fourth position is this area represents what you need to change and process in order to find love. And again, you've gone through an experience where you're not trusting yourself. You've gone through an experience where the things that you had energy for prior to this event, you no longer have energy for, but you may be conflicted in letting it go. Now, if it has to do with children, listen, you got to deal with that. That is not going anywhere. You got to deal with your kids. But there are some situations that you just are toxic for you, right? So meaning that you kind of put up with it before the event. There may be some toxic relationships around you where you've had to put up with it just because you have to, right? But now you're in a situation where you don't have to put up with it. So what this card is saying is let it go. Let go of toxic relationships. You don't really have the energy for it. Again, if it's your children, very, very different. But if it is other people, let's say it's your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, and you're a grown adult, listen, you cut the umbilical cord, okay? And I say that on a clinical level. Cut the umbilical cord. If you're in a toxic relationship and you're grown, unless you have children, you have to deal with your children. But the rest of the family members you need to take a break from. Anything that is toxic, you need to take a break from. It doesn't mean you have to sever the relationship. What I'm telling you is you don't have the bloody energy for it. So here, what do you feel? And here we see oranges and apples. And so this is what you're processing right now. And again, this is what you have to change in order for you to find love. So there's a huge discrepancy that's going on with you right now. Do you see the moon? We have you looking and searching within your soul. Some of you more in depth and going more into your spiritual depth of belief system and refining that and understanding that. But it's still a process, and it's oranges and apples. Your conflict with your outer world is conflicting with your inner world and your spiritual world. So you're in that process right now because your whole consciousness has shifted because of whatever traumatic event has happened. Now, let me explain something too. This is something that is not obvious, but this is something that is a truth. If you lose your job, and that is a traumatic event, right? And we've just gone through a pandemic. And a lot of people, like they can empathize with it, they can sympathize with it, but hardly anybody, like if you went to your general family practitioner, they will not say to you that is a traumatic event and you need to see a psychologist. They may say, we can give you some meds for your depression, your anxiety, and we can have you talk to a social worker to connect you with the job center and blah, 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 right? But really, when you've lost a job, it's a traumatic event. And a lot of people are going through things right now where it's cascading. You're losing your job, you're losing your career. The industry that you're in is now wiped out, it's now gone. You may be in your 40s and 50s and you've worked in a career that you've loved your whole life, but it's now gone. And what do you do, right? If you're 40 and 50 years old, you didn't grow up with technology. And so the jobs that are out there right now where people can get hired and the degrees that are out there for people to choose have a lot to do with technology. That may not be your frame of reference, and so you're feeling like a fish out of water. So there's lots to sort out right here in regards to these events and feeling conflicted because, there is a part of people around you may be saying things like, well, they may be kind of, I know when like 2008 happened, right? When the crash happened, I remember I saw so many people. I was working at a community center at the time, and I saw so many millionaires and so many professionals that had lost their job and lost their livelihood. Everything had been gone. Everything was wiped out. I saw millionaires that lost everything, and what they would come in and tell me is that, I have one apartment building left and it's worth $500,000, but I've lost 27 million. And they couldn't see that what they had was still a lot. Then I had other people that had lost their job at a convenience store and didn't know how they were going to pay rent. And again, it's all relative. That trauma of losing the convenience store job is no less than the person that only has a $500,000 apartment property left. And I know it sounds weird to say, well, we shouldn't have really any compassion for that millionaire that's not a millionaire anymore. But again, it's all relative, right? No one should be judging each other and saying that's, your problems are not valid. So there's some conflict going on right here that for some of you, you've gone through some traumas that you're navigating to try and understand why you're having a visceral effect from it, why you're having such a negative effect. It's because it was a bloody trauma. It's not a normal life event, right? And a trauma is anything that you relive. You have depression, you have anxiety, you can have panic attacks, you have intrusive memories, you're not sleeping well, you're worrying constantly. All these things are symptoms of trauma. And it doesn't mean that you have post-traumatic stress disorder. It doesn't even mean that you have acute stress disorder. But it doesn't mean you haven't gone through a traumatic event. And it doesn't mean that you're not exhibiting a lot of these symptoms. But it doesn't mean that you're diagnosable, okay? And it also doesn't mean that you shouldn't be working with a clinical psychologist to stabilize everything that you're going through. And I do encourage you to go and speak to somebody. And, you know, if you can't speak to anybody, please just reach out to somebody and start speaking. Here, where it says the word wants to be written, this indicates that some of you, the way that you're coping with it, or what needs to happen, is you need to start journaling now. So some of you have moved through the process where you can begin to start journaling and getting out your feelings onto paper. Now, I wouldn't recommend that you reread your journals, and I also recommend that you put it on a computer and you password protect it. This is not for anybody's viewing, but just for you to get it out of your system. For some of you, you're having a lot of spiritual insight, and you could be journaling about that too, about how the way that you're viewing the world is changing, what you want for yourself now, who are you now, and how do you fit into this life. And so you should be writing, and you should be getting your thoughts onto paper. Now, the last position represents what you need to liberate in order for you to move forward. And here we have vision of life beyond death. And we have the number 44, which in numerology represents 88. And so for some of you, you've gone through a death, right? Visions of life beyond death. You've gone through a death. Now, death could be death of a person. Death can be death of your career, death of a job, death of household income, right? Something comes to an abrupt end. Doesn't have to be abrupt, you know, people that are very ill and are you've lost loved ones over a long period of time. They were very sick for a long period of time. It's just as shocking when they die. So it feels like here for some of you, however that resonates with you, whether it be somebody that you've actually lost or something that you've lost. You could have lost your home, you could have lost your job, you could have lost your career, but there has been a death in your life of some sorts. And this is what you have to liberate yourself from. The death has happened, right? For a lot of you that are watching this reading, it's not happening now. It's been and done, it's happened. If you've lost your job, it's done, it's gone. If you've lost your career, it's been, it's done, it's gone. If you've lost somebody, it's been, it's done, they're buried, they're gone, right? But what happens with trauma is that we feel like it's still happening to us now. And that has something to do with time distortion, and it's the way that the mind serves to protect you, but it does inhibit your physical life. And so what's going on right now is that in order for you to liberate yourself and move on, I mean, honestly, I feel like if you can resonate with this reading, you need professional help to help you to navigate this very, very difficult time that you're going through. And once you're liberated, you will have a different spiritual outlook. You are having a rebirth, and that is really evident with the tarot card that came out for you, which is the Empress. And in the Empress, what we have here is time to take action. Give birth to your dreams. Creative projects will be very successful, abundance and prosperity. So basically what it shows here is that you are going to liberate yourself, Aquarius. That's what it shows. In this tarot card, it shows that the whole other reading shows that you're going through a process. This shows that you will get to the end of the process. It also shows for some of you, it will be now. It will be now that you are going to step, you know, you're kind of coming into the end of this very, very dark time in your life, and you are stepping into your future. You're taking action. You're going to give birth to your dreams. It's like you're being very decisive in this energy. You're deciding that you're going to get back into your creativity, and you're going to have success, and you're going to have abundance, and you're going to have prosperity. Now, it does feel like it's coming out of anger. I don't care where it's coming out of, as long as it comes out of somewhere. And so it's okay that what the motivation is anger or rage, and you're fighting against the sorrow. You're fighting against the loss. You're saying, You know, you're like a boxer in a fighting ring. You know, you may be down for the count, but you're not out. And so this is you fighting back and fighting back to have the life that you want, to dream a dream, to take action, to give birth to your dreams, to even come up with those dreams. So it does show in the month of June that you are actually taking action. And even though you're struggling with all the hurt and the pain that you're going through, it's not like it disappears once you come into this energy, but you're now fueling it in the right direction. So some of you have gone through a lot of self healing. Some of you have reached out to therapists already. Some of you are about to do that. So for those of you that are going to do it, this is the outcome. And this is not your energy for now, but this is your energy as you go through that process. That's the end result. Aquarius, I know that this is a difficult reading. I know that I'm not talking a lot about how do you attract love into your life. What I'm talking about are the blockages in your life, the challenges that are in your life that you are dealing with that is inhibiting your love life right now. Like I said, many patients have proven me wrong where they have found love in the middle of a catastrophe. And I just want you to be aware that if that's you, that's cool. Just be aware of where you are and what it is that you need. This reading is so different than any other type of reading because it really is a spiritual reading. In order for me to continue these types of readings, I do need you to give me a thumbs up. I don't need you to give me a thumbs down. If you don't like the bloody reading, listen, by not saying anything, by not doing anything, it speaks volumes. I don't need the thumbs down. What I need are the thumbs up so I can see who's resonating with the reading. Also, would like you to engage me and to tell me how it helped you. You don't have to tell me details or anything like that, but the more you engage me, the more I know that this reading is for you and that I need to do more of these types of readings. Because what will happen is it's like peeling back a layer of an onion. As the spirit world goes deeper and deeper into these types of readings, more and more information starts to come out. If you look at the Cancer reading, it's had, I don't know, like 1,500 views and lots of feedback. I always answer everybody on their feedback. And it's had a lot of likes. So I will be doing the reading again for Cancer. But in order for me to do the reading for you again, Aquarius, it probably won't be next month. I'll probably do it like once a quarter or something. Unless I see the kind of response like I'm getting from Cancer where maybe they need it every month. So please engage me. In my videos, I'm not sitting there and asking you to like and subscribe and to leave comments. I usually only do that if there's a reason for it. So there is a reason for it. This time I need you to help me to understand by leaving likes if this video helped you. I need you to comment if you feel brave enough to do that. And you can just say this video helped, and that way I get the engagement, I get the energy, and I know. So Aquarius, difficult times have been, in your recent past, but it's in your recent past. It's good things are ahead for you. They really are. I'm sorry you've had to go through this. This is a tremendously heartbreaking time in your life, but there is stuff to look forward to, and you're going to get there. You're going to get there, Aquarius. All right, it's been a pleasure, Aquarius. I will talk to you soon.